Hello, hello, eBayers. Welcome to episode number 78 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is September 14th, 2022, and I'm your hostess, Suzanne A. Wells. Today's guest is Amy in Ohio, who I consider one of my early eBay mentors. And before we get started, I wanted to give a few more shout outs to sellers who purchased my 2022 BOLO book and left feedback. Savannah, who you met in episode number 34 of the podcast, said, "This book is a wealth of knowledge for any seller, worth every penny. Thanks, Suzanne." And thank you, Savannah. It's my pleasure to serve you. Tina from episode number 41 said, "I came home to find hubby reading the book before I had a chance. I was waiting to take it shopping, but right now we're on a shopping fast. Lightning fast shipment." And Tina will be back on the podcast in the next few weeks to teach us all about collectible Hot Wheels cars, as she has sold a few of them for several $100s. This is her husband's area of expertise, but Tina is the one that does the eBay work, and she said her husband was a little shy and didn't want to talk much, so we will be talking to her very soon. Okay, Elena said, "I haven't been this excited about a purchase in a while, and it did not disappoint. Love the book. Thank you." And thank you, Elena. Celia, who is my eBay friend in Georgia, said, "Super quick shipping and great product. This is my second BOLO book from Suzanne, and it did not disappoint and is a great resource. I have already found some items. Thank you for such a great experience." And finally, last but definitely not least, is Marlene in Oklahoma. She said, "First-rate handbook, professionally designed with exceptional quality and content. Perfect size, filled with invaluable shopping treasures, captured in clear 4-color photos accompanied with pertinent historical selling data. A great addition to the first 2021 BOLO handbook. Another home run from one of eBay's best mentors. I will continue to support her eBay teaching cottage industry." Wow, that one just blew me away. And you might remember me talking about Marlene. She raises race horses and listens to my podcast in the barn with the horses. She has a horse named Elvis. And she says they know my voice. So I just never know what species my voice is going to land on. So anyway, I do appreciate all of the feedback, and you can always go to my eBay feedback page to read comments from other sellers about my educational products. The link to my store is below the podcast. Thank you to everyone who has bought the BOLO book and calendar. And just a side note, the 2023 calendar is being printed as we speak and is projected to be in my eBay store early October. So stay tuned for that. Okay, now for the chat with Amy.
Hello, listeners. Today we have Amy with us, and Amy and I go way back. So, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Suzanne. Great to finally meet you.
I know we were trying to figure out where we first crossed paths, and we think it was in 2007 when I started my blog.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Because you came on and you were like the estate sale expert. Just
Yeah.
That was your thing, which we'll talk about that more later.
Yes.
But I was more like a thrift store person, and I was just fascinated at the different kinds of things that you would talk about having found and all of that. It's just two different ways to get inventory. So tell us where you're located.
Okay, I am located in Toledo, which is Northwest Ohio.
Right. Okay.
And I guess I can tell you about myself. I am 54 years old, married, 2 grown kids.
Well, you don't look that old. I thought you were way younger than that. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
Okay, thank you.
And what got you started on eBay? Was there some kind of event in your life, or how did that happen?
Well, my eBay account says I started February 1998. I had young children, and I first started out actually buying their clothes on eBay. And then as they outgrew their clothes, I would resell them, use the money to buy more. And that was kind of the beginning of the gymboree craze, where everyone was collecting the gymboree pieces. And so I bought my daughter a lot of gymboree. And when she outgrew it, I would resell it and buy her the next size up. Then I homeschooled my kids, and I would buy their curriculum on eBay and use it. And then I would sell it the following year to buy the next year's curriculum.
Very smart.
It was a great way to save money. And then I went to garage sales, and I kind of grew up going to garage sales. But as the kids got a little older, I went to garage sales and I started finding things to resell, sort of as a way to make extra money while I was at home. And so I have sold part-time and full-time also at different phases of my life, depending on what was going on.
Right. And it's funny, I know you've been in my Facebook group since it started, but
yeah,
you'll go long periods of time without posting anything, or, maybe you just don't have time. And then, you pop up again, and you popped up a couple weeks ago, and I was like, Amy, you're back.
I'm always there. I'm always reading, but I'm not always posting.
Right. Yeah. It takes a little more time for that. So, I remember all that, the gymboree phase and the mom. Were you in any of the mom groups or the gymboree selling groups before?
There were some on Facebook. Yeah, I read mostly, but I didn't really sell my gymboree things on Facebook.
Okay, so before Facebook, there were Yahoo groups and just private groups where you could join for like $10 a month.
Yes.
Did you do that kind of stuff?
I didn't join any of them that cost, but I belonged to a lot of the gymboree websites,
right,
where moms would talk about the patterns they found and, what was the hot item that month.
Right. And so I didn't really raise my kids wearing gymboree because, it was so expensive. And so what I would do is go to children's consignment stores or buy sell stores and get them outfits like to wear in pictures. It wasn't like that's all they wore. So we had a few pieces, but I did not realize the hype about gymboree and how passionate these people were if you didn't use the right pattern name or didn't call something by the right thing. And so I did do a group that cost like $10 a month just to learn about it, because I'm in the thrift store anyway, and maybe I can pick up some things that I can resell. But it was very interesting that a lot of those people were selling Gymboree clothing on eBay, but that was it. Like, they
Yes.
weren't thinking big enough in my mind. It was like, why don't you sell other things you can get from the thrift store or garage sales or around your house?
Exactly.
And so I started that. I was like, I was curious. I was like, why aren't you doing more items? And I got kicked out of the group for asking that, like, oh, don't take the focus off of Gymboree. You know, that's our passion. That's our thing. So
What I found interesting about the Gymboree is that you very much had to have the right pattern name in your listing for people to find it. And that's where those websites came in handy to help you identify the pattern. And to me, it's very similar in my mind, like Vera Bradley. If you have a Vera Bradley purse, you need to know what is the design of the Vera Bradley purse to put in your listing. And it reminds me of combing through the websites trying to find the exact name of the pattern.
Well, and back then we didn't have Google Lens and all these things where it's pretty easy to find that information.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I wasn't a Gymboree enthusiast. So I would list things with, you know, pink dress, ice skate, snowman, or just describe it, because I was like, I wonder if there's other moms like me that don't know the pattern names. And so they'll find it anyway. It, you know, it didn't have to be all or nothings. And I did sell pieces that I found, but that was just interesting to compare those groups to now, how accessible information is. And you can find what you need so quickly, and you post a picture of it and somebody will tell you. And it just wasn't like that back then.
It's much easier now.
Right.
Yeah, you can find all the information you need online. So yeah, it's a lot easier.
So you started off just selling your own kids' clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
And when did you start homeschooling your kids?
When my son was 5, and they both graduated now, they're both grown.
Okay, so that was like early 2000s?
Let's see. My son was, it would have been early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that, you seem like on the cutting edge of homeschool if you started back then, you know. Now, again, there's a system, it's organized. You can find your supplies and your curriculum online. And back when you started, it probably wasn't that organized.
It wasn't as organized, and it was also still not quite mainstream at that point, where sometimes you had reactions from people when you said you homeschooled. Nowadays, if you tell people that you homeschooled, they go, oh, my cousin does that. Everyone knows someone who does.
Yeah.
But yeah, earlier on, you know, we had some support groups and meetups, and, you know, you kind of had to find people who were doing what you did.
Right. Was there a particular reason you chose to homeschool?
There are a lot of reasons that people homeschool. Some people homeschool for religious reasons. Some people, for the kind of education they're looking for. Some people because, I don't know, they feel funny about public school. I don't know why. There's different reasons. In our case, my son was a really early reader, and he, at that time, he was working several years above his age, and it became time to put him in kindergarten. And I called around and asked questions and said, you know, what do you do if you have a kid who's, you know, he's reading at a high school level and he's 5? What is going to happen to him? And, you know, pretty much I got the answer, you know, we can't really provide individualized attention for every single kid. There's too many kids in each class. And I thought, well, you know, how badly can I screw up kindergarten? You know, surely I can teach kindergarten, you know. And so it just worked out that way, that he enjoyed it and he thrived and he stayed at home. And then my daughter came along, and she actually was the opposite reason. She was a late reader, and she wanted to move at her own pace. And we were able to provide that because we were at home and there's just the two of us.
Yeah, I love that, work at your own pace. I did consider it for my kids a couple of times along the way, because I, like you, had one kid that was way ahead and then got bored at school and wasn't stimulated. And then my daughter, I've talked about this before, had issues with math, and it was just, we were already about to kill each other doing homework together.
Yeah.
That was like, if we're together all day, one of us isn't going to survive. So
this isn't going to work.
I went the tutoring route, and, hired people to help her because it was a personal dynamic. Like, it's not going to do her any good for me to try to homeschool her and yell at her all day and be frustrated, and both of us hate it.
Sure.
So, I have so much respect for people who can homeschool because, that's a lot of togetherness.
That it is, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not one of those people that says everyone should homeschool. No one's kids should be in school. I'm not, it works for some people and other people it doesn't work for. In our family, in our situation, it worked. And as the children got older, we joined co-ops where the kids were in high school and they could do, biology classes with other homeschooled kids.
Yeah, like one mom who's good in whatever the subject is, teaches those kids. Yeah, that would have been perfect. But and they didn't want to be homeschooled. They were like, I guess if you start off that way, it's one thing. But then, if you're middle school and you're like talking about homeschool, they're like, I'm going to miss my friends and I want to do, these activities at school. And so it's a different situation.
Yeah. And also I think my kids didn't know any different. Since they had never been to school. Obviously they watch TV, so they watch the Disney Channel and they see what school looks like,
Right.
My son never had any interest in going to school. My daughter possibly would have seen it on TV and went, look how much fun those kids are having. They just hang out in the hall all day and they have a blast,
Yeah.
I feel like in school, she would have been the kid who talks too much in class and and didn't accomplish anything, and went to a bunch of parties,
Right. Hey, there you go. So I know they're grown now, but I'm going to pick your brain about homeschool materials because that's something that I have never delved into, but I keep hearing that it is a profitable category if you know what to look for. And I imagine it changes over time, but probably not that much.
There are always new materials coming out. Like you said, it's a very profitable market. So there's always new suppliers. It's different now than when I did it. But at the time, you could always look for it using the brand name and the grade you were looking for. And it was always there on eBay. Amazon also. I bought and sold books on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it is profitable, and you do find it at garage sales sometimes. It'll sometimes say in the ad, homeschool books.
I see ads for homeschool expos and all kinds of events like conferences or whatever, where people can buy, sell, trade there. So I know it's a huge market. Is there a particular brand that we should look for?
There is a brand called Sunlight. And I'm speaking from the fact that this was 10 years ago when I did this.
Okay.
Sonlight, Sunlight.
Okay.
Is a popular brand. Abeka is a brand that they use in Christian schools.
Okay.
It's not overly expensive. So if you find it to resell, it may not be all that profitable, Obviously, you want to look for the ones that haven't been written in, if they're workbooks.
Mm-hmm. And what about teacher guides?
Yeah, most curriculums come with workbooks or the student book along with a teacher guide. There is also now a lot of curriculum that's on computer programs that you buy discs. Teaching textbooks is one, and it's a math program.
So is it like a DVD?
Yeah.
Okay.
CD-ROMs.
Okay.
And what is good about that one for me is the computer program graded your child. So
okay.
It was an interactive math lesson and then an interactive test or homework on the computer, and the computer graded it and kept track of what their grades were for each day. And that one is pretty pricey. So if you can find that used and sell it on eBay, it would be worth money.
So start looking through the CD-ROMs for
possibly, yeah. Teaching
software.
textbooks is the one that comes to mind.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And, since COVID, everything changed with Zoom and online classes. But I mean, there's just some things that you're going to have to learn out of a book. Like, I don't know how you would sit there and do math on a computer program. You're going to have to do the math on paper to figure out the answer.
Yeah. And they do come, that one does come with workbooks. And also, you can have your scratch paper, I guess, in front of you to work out the problem. And then you type the answer into the program.
Yeah. But some things just need to be in a book.
In a book.
I'm a book person. I call it a writer downer. And
that's me. Yeah.
So yes, I think that's our generation. We just like that. We like to make lists and have
I make lists.
Things off. And I still even write my grocery list on paper and then I take a picture of it. Because I'm not going to open my phone and, type it in or dictate it. I don't know. It's just old habits die hard. But, back to that, reading a novel or whatever it is, there's just some things you're going to have a book for. Not everything can be computerized, electronicized, So I think the world thought when the Kindle came out that books were going to become obsolete, Yeah.
And I have a Kindle. I'm a big reader always. And I resisted the Kindle for a long time. And now I have one and it's my favorite thing ever. But I still have bookshelves full of books.
I know it's just something about having them in your environment. It's comforting. It's familiar. It just is a good vibe. But I tried a Kindle too, and I didn't like it. I just couldn't get on board with it. I just like holding the book, turning the pages, going back. Oh, wait, what did they say? And I guess that's just our generation. But you have embraced that technology.
There's still nothing like a bookstore. I know. Our local Barnes and Noble, and I always said, they have books and they have Starbucks coffee. I never have to leave this place. This is the best place ever.
They have a bathroom. They have comfortable furniture.
Absolutely.
That's where I used to escape to when life stressed me out, and I didn't want to go to the gym or a yoga class. I would go to a bookstore and just walk around and look at stuff, grab something, sit down, read it, have a cup of coffee. And everyone is quiet and respectful. It's like a library. And I like the people in a bookstore and in a library. It's like, oh, they get it. They know what I'm feeling. All this information in here is just available to me.
It's funny that you bring up the library because I worked for our local library for 4 years up until COVID. And I ran my eBay business alongside the library. So whenever I was off work on a Thursday morning or a Friday morning, I was out at the garage sales and the estate sales. And I did both at the same time. And I enjoyed working at the library. I enjoyed the people I worked with. I love being around the books.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would be at work and there would be a garage sale I wanted to go to, and I was stuck at work, I was really unhappy about it.
Yeah, that's a
And
conflict.
yeah. So finally, after COVID, and we were off work for quite some time because the libraries were closed, I got used to being back at home, and I got used to running my eBay business, and went, I I was able to make more on eBay
Mm-hmm.
than I was at my job.
Well,
And
especially
so
with your history and experience with eBay, it's the longer you do it, the more you know.
absolutely. Yeah, that's very true. A lot of times people will ask, well, how do you know this? Or how do you know what to look for? And I say some of that is just experience and reading the boards and the Facebook groups. And, when you see other people pick things up, and there's still times that people will post about something and I'll go, I never thought about that. I never thought about buying that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. Me too. You should see the list I have.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
this
bet.
person, sold this and that. And I'm constantly keeping track of things that I didn't know or that would be good to talk about on video or something like, oh, not that I should know everything because I've been doing it for so long. It's the fact that no matter how long you've been doing it, you can always learn more. And it's just like this flood of information on Facebook groups or wherever you're interacting with other sellers. It's just unlimited. It's overwhelming sometimes.
Not everybody, no one can know everything.
Right.
So I try to think when I go to the estate sales, and there are people there, and I know, well, that person buys jewelry, that person buys books, and I still think to myself, not everybody can know everything about everything. There's still things out there that other people wouldn't think to buy. We all specialize in different things.
Right now, some company is getting funded to start a business and they have some kind of unique product and we don't even know about it yet. And that just happens all the time. Oh, this company's been around 6 years, 10 years. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of this thing. And now people want it. And and it's never going to stop. That's kind of our job security, regardless of what the rules are on eBay that change, which we've seen a lot of that. And there's just always going to be new things popping up, that new trends being named, like, oh, I didn't know that look had a name.
Sure. New movies coming out that will make some product popular.
Right. Or some outfit. And then, all the celebrities on Instagram that, they're into this, they're into that. And it's just, you have to filter a lot of that out. But so let's go back to some interesting things that you've bought and sold over the years, because you are a prepared guest. You have a list.
I made the list on paper.
That's us, the list makers.
Well, I had a lot of people always ask you, what is the thing that you sold for the most money? That's the common question when I tell somebody I sell on eBay. And I have two that stand out. I bought probably 10 years ago. I was at a local country auction and I bought a box lot. Had a bunch of little small knick-knack looking things in it. I paid $2 for it. And it had an Art Deco perfume bottle in it from France, empty. And I sold that for $2,600. At auction, started it at $9.99.
And how long ago was this?
This was, probably 10 years ago. Right away, it had a ton of interest. Right away, it had a lot of messages of people going, I'll give you $200 right now if you end the auction. I had a very nice perfume collector send me a message on eBay, and he said, you're going to get a lot of lowball offers, and don't take them. You will be very happy with what your auction ends up at because you have a good item. So don't take any of those offers, which was pretty nice of him to go out of his way to message me. So that was very exciting to watch. At the end of the auction, I was watching it end, and that was pretty fun. I also bought one time at an auction, a local auction, a box of puzzles. And the name of the puzzles are Stave, Stave.
Okay.
Very intricate wooden handmade puzzles collected by celebrities and royalty. They are super expensive and very cool. I bought a box of those at an auction for $10, and ended up selling them all individually. And they ended up being about $3,600 by the time they all sold.
Oh, that is excellent.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So a little more exciting than working at the library.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing wrong with working at the library, but somebody once said when I explained what we do with eBay and treasure hunting and then selling things, they're like, that sounds like gambling to me. And I'm like, no, you have to know what you're buying.
Because you know what you're doing.
You're not just throwing dice on a table hoping for the best.
Yeah. Usually what I get when I tell people what I do, they go, that sounds like so much fun, just going to garage sales all day long. I wish I could do that. And I said, no, the treasure hunting is the fun part. I said, the listing, the taking pictures, the shipping, I hate shipping. And that's just the part that goes along with the job. That's the job part.
I know shipping is my least favorite part also, but I mean, you got to close the deal. You got to send the item to them. So
yeah, you can't complain about shipping because that means you sold something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have to reframe my thoughts when it's like I have all these items to ship. It's like, oh, but that's money. So, and I want them to be happy and I want them to leave positive feedback. And I want to ship it out as quickly as possible. Even though I have 2-day handling, I still usually ship every day. So they will see it as better than expected. I'm over delivering by shipping it faster.
Came quicker than they thought it would.
Exactly. So that's just one little thing I can do. But the treasure hunting is everybody's favorite. Like some people's cars just cannot pass a Goodwill. Like your car just automatically goes there on its own. You don't even have to tell it.
It was funny when my son was young, and by the way, he's 25 now and sells on eBay.
Excellent.
Yes, when he was young, he would go to thrift stores with me reluctantly, and he would watch. I would put things in the cart, and one day he said, "Mom, do you ever actually sell any of these things that you buy?" And I said, well, what do you think that I do? If I buy stuff and I don't sell it, then I'm just a hoarder, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
This was the whole point of what I'm here in the thrift store. But I don't know what he thought I did with all this stuff that I bought.
So he didn't see you shipping and carrying out your packages and all that?
I would have thought that he saw me listing it, but he didn't make the connection of like, why does she keep buying all of this stuff?
Okay. Well, and he was a little kid, so yeah. Okay. Now you were the person who educated me on estate sales.
Yes.
Because that just wasn't in my wheelhouse. I was just a thrift store person, still am. And you would say, you would give great advice about shopping estate sales. And your thing was that you always went to the bathroom first.
Okay.
Like not go to the bathroom, like go look in the bathroom.
I went to look in the bathroom.
Right.
Estate sales are different in all different parts of the country, and they have different rules. In my part of the country, you can get there early and there will be a sign-up sheet. So you can sign your name on this sign up sheet and then you can go sit back in your car.
Okay.
I have found that different parts of the country, you just get out of your car and you get in line and you physically stand there in your spot until they open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's different in different places. Usually I like to go to the bathroom because I look for perfumes.
Right.
And a lot of times that's where the perfumes are. Also toiletries, also high-end makeup. A lot of times that's actually in the bathroom. Or on top of dressers. On top of the bedroom dressers, you also find the perfume bottles. And I sell a lot of perfume. And that's one of the things that I always look for.
Yeah. And I just thought that was genius, back in the day, 15 years ago, that you thought to do that. And I thought, I never would have thought of that. That is brilliant, because perfume, if it's partially used, it's fine. It's not going to, it's not like selling an edible product that's been opened, or something that's harmful. It's just, it's made to last a long time. And most of them are pretty small, easy to ship. So
yep, easy to ship. I had a lady one time message me, and she had bought some vintage aftershave, and she messaged me afterwards. She bought it because her husband had passed, and that was his scent. And she bought it so that she could smell his aftershave again. And I thought that is so sweet. And what a nice story to give you some validation of why we do what we do, that it made me think I'm actually helping somebody out there find the thing that they're looking for.
Yes, you are. And I have a similar story. A lady bought some men's cologne, and she wrote me a letter and mailed it to me.
Wow.
So it's in her handwriting, and, just the energy's flowing through onto the paper. And she just said that, thank you so much for offering this. Her husband was in the final stages of cancer, and he was concerned about odors when visitors came, and he wanted to smell nice for people as much as possible when, that's
what a great letter, though.
She's, thank you for, this made him so happy and all that kind of stuff. And then when my loved one died in 2020, that was one thing I missed, was how good he always smelled. So
yeah.
I did the same thing. I went on eBay and I bought a bottle of Obsession for Men, is what he wore.
Okay.
And it was a big spray bottle, so it's going to last a long time, but I keep that in my nightstand. Sometimes I spray my pillow with it, and it's very, there's something about a smell, a fragrance.
That's what they say.
That works on your brain in a different way than any other memory. So I do have that.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, I understand now that when you lose somebody, it's, you just want to hold on to pieces of them. And so that's something very real and tangible that you can have, and just, just a nice reminder. And so I get why people do it now, because at first I thought, wow, that's kind of weird, but no, now I've been there and done that.
Yeah, now it makes sense. I had another girl, this was this past year. We had here in Northwest Ohio a local TV kids show, and it was called Patches and Pockets. So I'm thinking probably the rest of the country don't know what that is, but they were two adults. They were dressed up as clowns, and they were on Saturday mornings. So anybody my age growing up as a little kid in the 70s remembers this TV show. Mm-hmm. So I found a pair of dolls that were Patches and Pockets made locally by someone, and they were at a sale. I bought them and I listed them, and I thought someday somebody's going to want those because somebody local to me will remember that show. Mm-hmm. So they sold for a couple $100 to a lady who wrote me afterwards that her grandmother had played one of the clowns in this show and had passed a couple weeks ago. And so she went online, apparently probably Googled their show, and found my auction. and bought the dolls. And so she was thrilled to death to have those because they were her grandmother.
And there is no other feeling like it when you have connected somebody with a piece of their past. Because you might, well, you obviously were maybe the only person to have those dolls. And that's why I'm really attracted to vintage items, because maybe it'll take a little while to sell, but this old thing is going to mean something to somebody at some point. Yeah.
I sell newer things if I find them because, they're still something that somebody wants. But to me, I like the old items.
Well, and remembering things that you posted along the way, you do focus on collectibles.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is your target area. So you don't really do clothes or anything like that.
Oh, I have clothes. I don't like to sell clothes. And it's funny because my son goes with me to sales now. And every time I buy an item of clothing, he says, "You said to tell you to quit buying clothes because you don't like to list it." And I said, "I know, but how can I turn this down? I have to buy it."
But you're like, this is a vintage Levi's Big E trucker jacket.
Yes, absolutely. I have some sports jerseys. I sell a lot of sports jerseys, and you find them with the tags on them for $5. And how could you not buy that?
Well, see, I don't see that. And I do look at clothes, and people like you and Brian Rappaport comes to mind. He's in Arizona, though. I know I'm getting way too familiar with who people are and where they live. It's like, this is my friend group, is all my eBay seller friends.
It's who you talk to.
So I thought, like, is this something that's unique to one part of the country, or how does that work? And I just don't see those things. But plenty of people find them.
Yeah. Well, and look where you are. I think you're still in Georgia, right?
Yes, I'm in Atlanta.
Okay. So you're going to find like the Augusta golf items.
Not so much anymore. That used to be
Okay.
a BOLO for me until, well, the rule was you could only buy those shirts at the golf course, at Augusta National during the week of the Masters. So that's why they were so highly sought after, is there weren't any online. Like, you couldn't go to the mastershop.com, which I know that's a real thing, and buy them online. So now you can get them anywhere. They're all over the place. So the value's not like it used to be, but I had sold some of those in the beginning for $200 because
I remember those.
Yeah, you couldn't get them anywhere else. And those would filter down to the thrift stores. But yeah, that's just what I was finding when I got started: cashmere and men's golf shirts. And I was just picking out valuable items because I felt like I didn't know enough about collectibles to do that.
Okay.
You'd go in the back of the store, and that was before internet was on your phone. You couldn't look things up.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, I felt very inadequate looking at any of that stuff in the back because I just didn't know. And then life became easier where you could look things up on the app and figure it out better before you bought things. And I had to shift my thinking. I was like, I'm just like anybody else. I don't know everything. I'm just going to go in there and try to learn as much as I can.
And that's how you learn. Actually, even just by looking things up, that's how you learn. But, when people start out, that's what they always say is sell what you know, and which is what you did. And when I was little, I collected dolls. So I feel comfortable with dolls because that's what I know.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to start, because you have to have a level of self-confidence to do this. Brand new people that go to a estate sale, thrift store, wherever, it's like deer in the headlights. It's like, I don't know what to do here. And it's just, you got to pick a category and learn it. And then when you feel like you've mastered that, you move on to something else.
Yeah. And we all have bought things that we thought were great. and then got them home and looked them up and went, well, this doesn't really sell for what I thought, or this wasn't that good. And somebody told me once, figure that is your cost of education.
Yeah.
You paid money to learn that lesson. So now you know.
Oh yeah. I came home with some things last week thinking they were great, and they went right back in the donate bag, just not worth fooling with. Or you realize you don't have the one that is the most valuable, or that is valuable enough to deal with. It's like with plush or whatever you're doing. It's like, oh, the green one is the expensive one, and I have the pink one, and so the app is not perfect for looking things up.
Sure.
But it's better than nothing, which is what we had back in the day, was just guessing.
We were flying blind out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some other things you look for other than sports jerseys, perfumes, stuff in the bathroom? Haven't you sold some fun vintage health and beauty products?
I have. And I've sold makeup, high-end makeup. I find that still in the package. Obviously not used.
Right.
I have, and I know a lot of people don't care about Avon, or they won't look at Avon, but a good BOLO are the Avon brushes, vintage Avon brushes, still in the box.
Right.
Some of those will go for some really good money. So even though I don't usually care about the Avon perfume and the toiletries, I will always check out that section in case there's a brush hidden in there.
Well, that is in my 2021 BOLO book. So yeah, it doesn't matter what color, and if they're new in the box. I had one because my mom sold Avon and I sold it too. And I remember I had a white handled, sort of like a marbly looking plastic hairbrush. And I really don't know what's so special about them. They're not made from anything like horsehair. They're just plastic bristles. Yeah. I guess maybe it's just a nostalgia thing. I
don't see it either. I don't know why this is a better brush than any brush you could buy in a drugstore right now. But for some reason, people really want those Avon brushes.
Well, and they can sell for $100 to $125 just for that hairbrush. Of course, new in the box is going to be the most valuable. But when I learned that, I was like, what? Should have saved all my Avon stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing sometimes, and this is pretty new to me also, the Goody hair barrettes, vintage Goody hair barrettes. Look them up sometime and you will be astounded.
Okay, the ones, that's another thing I should have saved. I had this, I guess, Tupperware thing with just all my barrettes and ponytail holders and all that stuff. I don't know what happened to it. I guess it probably got encrusted with hairspray and thrown away.
Too much Aquanet on those.
Us girls of the 80s, the teens of the 80s that had our hair just plastered and it didn't move.
I relate to that. Yep.
Yeah. So Goody barrettes, any particular like those snappy ones or the like tortoise
There
shell?
are certain ones, and right now I can't think what they call them, but there's a certain something tight, fast tight. It's go on eBay and do your sort by high to low. I can't think of the name right now, but I know I've looked at them and went, who knew? Who knew anybody cared about these barrettes from the 70s and 80s? Mm-hmm.
I know, it's just mind blowing what people will pay for.
Yeah.
So have you ever found any of the vintage shampoos or feminine products or any of those things that sell for ridiculous prices?
Diapers, old packs of Pampers, people will pay for. Hosiery, vintage hosiery, and even ones that are not that old, but designer brands, some Christian Dior hosiery, things like that, stuff that you wouldn't think of. And also I find sometimes there are things at the estate sale that the people running the estate sale will put a whole bunch of those in a big box and go 50 cents each, because they don't care, and who would want those anyway? You know.
Yeah, that's the mindset of the average person with the untrained eye is nobody's going to want that.
Who would want this?
And then we come along silently and just pick it up. It's like the less you say, the better. Just put it in your bag or your cart and go about your business. And nothing happening here, folks.
Yeah. Yep. Don't mind all this stuff in my cart.
Right. Okay. Well, you have given us a lot of great information about what to look for. So are you all estate sale, garage sale? Do you do any thrift stores?
Not at all. I go to thrift stores. I go to estate sales. I go to garage sales. I now buy from local auction houses that instead of doing in-person auctions, they started doing online auctions.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be online watching online auctions and bid on things. My son is a big shopgoodwill.com shopper.
Okay.
He has an eye. And so he will go on shopgoodwill.com and he will buy big boxes of stuff and was able to pick out the one or two great items in that lot and then resell them on eBay.
Okay. So I have dabbled in that. So the shipping cost, I mean, you have to factor that in
for sure
to see if your item is still profitable, but he seems to have figured that out.
Yeah. The best thing to do on Shop Goodwill is not to buy individual items. The best thing to do is look at where they just put lot of vintage toys and that's their description.
Mm-hmm.
And then your job is to go through the photos and find that one item hiding in the back of the photo that nobody else noticed.
Right.
And buy that lot.
Well, and again, it's work. You have to look for the items. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Sit at your computer and look through these listings that most of them are probably going to be a fail. And you just have to look for that needle in the haystack and eventually find it. But it's a great strategy if you are a caregiver and can't leave home, if you're ill and you don't feel well, and you can still do this online from the comfort of your home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great side hustle for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, and at different times during my life, this is my full-time job. This is how I pay my bills.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I promised I would get you out of here on time because
it's almost time.
I guess are you going to shop?
I'm going to lunch.
Okay. Well, that's still good. Good for you for getting out and being social and not.
I figure I still have to eat lunch, right? So
not being a hermit and being chained to your computer all day. So that's good. We have to make time for that. So before you exit, my last question is, what kind of advice would you give to new people starting out or people who want to try estate sales? Just what's your best advice?
My best advice is to do your research. Don't be afraid to buy something, even if you're not sure about it. This is how you learn. And also, you're only risking 50 cents or $1 at a garage sale. So you may as well try it. What's the worst that can happen?
That's a great attitude. And that's why you have stuck with this, 24 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time, but it's great because you can come and go from it. Life gets busy. You can put it on the back burner, deal with whatever the crisis is. And you probably have fewer crises now that your kids are out of the house.
Yeah, it's a lot easier now that the kids are older. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
It's a great way to make money and be there for your kids. And your schedule's flexible. And we made it through the stay-at-home mom phase, didn't we?
We did. We survived.
Yeah. So next up is stay-at-home grandma, right?
No, not me.
Yeah, I'm not really on board with that either. So
yeah,
I'm enjoying this chapter of my life right now.
I am too. We don't have grandkids yet. So
Yeah.
I'm at the stage where they're grown-ups, but without the grandkids.
Right, exactly. It's a great chapter of life because your time becomes your own, you know? And there's nothing more rewarding to me as a parent than knowing my kids are independent and they don't need me. Like I'm going to be there for them if they ask and they need me, but my kids love to be independent and not need me. And that's just like victory. Parenting.
You did your job right.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you so much for working us into your day. And I hope you have a great lunch. And
thank you.
You on the Facebook group.
Okay. Thanks so much, Suzanne.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was so nice to finally meet Amy face to face on Zoom after like 15 years of knowing her online. So I really love doing these podcasts and meeting guests. It's really the highlight of my week to do these interviews because I get to talk to another seller face to face, talk about personal stuff, get to know them. And this business can be lonely, and that goes for me too. So this is like my appointment with a friend every week to get on Zoom and record these podcasts. Okay, now on to today's trivia question. Now, I put this together on September 7th and was looking at photos of Queen Elizabeth because this trivia question relates to royalty. And it was so strange that she passed away the very next day. It was just really ironic. I was like, I was just looking at all these pictures of her yesterday. This item has been on my trivia question list for a while, so we're just going to roll with it. And you can pay attention to this when King Charles' coronation is televised a few months from now. So the question is, what are those little black specks on royalty fur? Like the robes and crowns worn for coronation and portraits. If you look at paintings of Henry VIII, Louis XIV, Queen Elizabeth I, and other historical royalty, they are wearing white fur with black specks, or the robes are trimmed with that. The tradition of wearing white fur with black specks for coronation and other royal ceremonies continues today. So what is that black stuff and why is it on there? Here are 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, the answer is ermine, E-R-M-I-N-E. It is represented by a white field with black spots. It is the fur most commonly used in heraldry, and the spots represent the tails of this small animal sewn to the white fur for enrichment. It is a regal fur since ermine has long been associated with the crowns and robes of royal and noble persons. So your next question might be, okay, what the heck is ermine? Well, it's a little animal. They are in the same family as weasels, minks, otters, and badgers. And the Greeks called it an Armenian rat because it originated from Armenia. In the summer, the ermine is browned with a whitish throat, chest, and belly. In colder climates, the winter coat is white except for the black tail tip. In moderately cold climates, the fur becomes only partly white. So now you can all Google ermine, E-R-M-I-N-E, and Henry VIII and Louis XIV and Elizabeth I and all those other people and look at the photos. That's what they're wearing. You just never know what you're going to learn by listening to a podcast. As always, thanks for making this podcast part of your week, and I'll be back next week with Brandon, who talks about his $9,000 Barbie haul and the look on his wife's face when he bought that. from a hoarder's home, among other random eBay things. Make it a great week on eBay. Bye for now.